you good to get started? Cool. Hi, my name's Harry Wright. I was Assistant General of Direction on Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
What were some of the biggest challenges when filming The Force Awakens?
Well, one of the biggest challenges we had was coming up with what movies to look at for inspiration and where to draw from, really, because we were really heavily focused on it in the early drafts for... we really think you'd take it in the direction of Return of the King, the Lord of the Rings film. And then we were throwing around ideas, maybe looking at some crazier sci-fi, maybe some Cube stuff, Primer, maybe even a bit of Firefly in there. Then it was actually, I think it was George Lucas who he suggested actually turning to the older films, the older Star Wars films, which I'm sure a lot of people probably don't even know they exist. Actually came out in the 70s, I believe. And we actually looked at those and we saw they did this really menacing thing. They had this big, like an egg, like a big egg, like a death egg. And we decided to draw from that and do a similar sort of thing. But we thought there might be some people who might have seen the film, some oldsters. And so we wanted to change it up a little bit. So instead of being like a big egg, we made it a big planet. And we'll get onto that in a little bit. But I think that was a really nice story of how we sort of played with a bunch of ideas and then landed on one from a much older film.
Where did some of the ideas for main characters come from?
Well, obviously the film opens with Poe Dameron. He's the first one we get to see, who was a consultant, an expert that we had on set that day. He flew in the US military. He was a pilot for their air command. He was just, we got some footage from him. We asked him, what's it like in the cockpit? What are some of the experiences you had? Have you got any footage, of you doing pilot training and anything that we could draw from? And he sent us over this reel of all these different flight tests and various boring bits of footage that he had lying around from his own days back as a pilot. And we saw them and we thought, Poe, funnily enough, the actor's name is actually Poe. Poe, this is gold. Are we all right to put this in the film? So everything that you're actually seeing in the film is real life footage from Poe's days as a pilot. Finn he certainly is a character. Finn was actually not going to be in the script until quite late, actually. I think his scenes were some of the last that we filmed. It was when we recorded that... Sorry, I actually hadn't thought about this for a little while. Sorry. It was actually when we were recording that that big battle at the end, and unfortunately we had a terrible accident on the set that day. That's right. And we had an extra, a member of the background artists, who's a stormtrooper, tragically lost his life on the set that day. And George was rolling the whole time, and it was another stormtrooper, not the actor who played Finn, who approached the man and held him in his arms in his final moments. Sorry. And we said, fuck it, this is really good. It's pretty good.
And what about Rey?
I'm sorry, who?
Do you have any funny stories from the set?
Funny stories from the set? Oh, okay. No, I've got this is the one I always tell when people ask me about the film. I remember we would have been probably. It was we were definitely shooting. We started shooting some scenes by this point, and it was when. As I'm sure a lot of filmmakers who might be watching this know, a film is dynamic. It's it's not you write the script, you record that. There is a bit of a process there where you tweak on, whilst production's going on, you change things as you go. And one day, I think we were shooting I think we as I mentioned earlier, we'd spoken about bringing in this big, super weapon into the equation, and we sort of got this idea. We looked at the reference material, and it was Adam Driver. He was on the set. We were doing some of his scenes, and when he came on, he brought with him this Starkiller base. He actually brought it with him to the set. He bought this planet-killing super weapon in that day, and we said, Adam, what's this? Tell us a bit about what is this you put on? And he said, it's just I'm bringing this home for the missus. I just picked it up on the way in. Is it all right if I keep it in the back room over there? And we said, oh, whoa, hold on, Adam. That's going in the film. And obviously he got quite emotional at this. He thought, I was going to surprise the missus with it. What you're saying, we're going to put this on the film in a second. I think it was George Lucas, actually. He said, let's get that up on the set. Maybe this is the big bad that we can draw from those other films. This is the main threat that our heroes going to be facing. Obviously, none of us, when we got up that morning, had any idea that this was going to be factored in. And so it was a lot of hard work, but we managed to mount this super weapon up on some strings, and then we just sort of got some various bits of footage of that and factored into the film. I think that's just a lovely story of how fluid these things can be.
Is there anything else from behind the scenes that you could share with us today?
Yeah, I'm racking my brain. Oh, there you go. So there's when recording film, Adam Driver, he was very particularly, like a lot of actors, everyone has their own style, but he wanted to do a couple of other sort of, improv-y takes where we don't necessarily stick to the script, as it's written. And basically what happened is we were doing that very opening scene on the planet where Kylo Ren's ship arrives. He speaks to that old man, who actually, again, he wasn't in the film. He is actually just a homeless man. And he does that opening scene, and he catches the blaster bolt. Obviously, what happens in the film is he turns. He's facing one way, turns, and he catches the bolt. Originally in the script, as George wrote it, turn. Quiet. And he actually ate the blaster bolt. We back? Are we back rolling? Yeah, sorry everyone, we're recording, actually just in the studio over there, we're recording episode 9.5. And so I think someone plugged in 3 of the lightsabers. We can only charge 2 at once, so it take a lot of charge, so... just happens. Yeah, I actually remember this just happening on the set, and then we were all stunned, obviously. Behind the camera, you had JJ, and I was looking at this. I was a little bit peed off at the time, it was a little bit frustrating. And then Force Ghost George Lucas, who was watching from behind the camera as well on the monitor, he said he loved it. And JJ seemed all for it. And again, I was a little bit frustrated, and I think at that point, that was when I went onto the set and I did the scene myself. And I did it as was written in the sacred text, in the script, sorry. And I think it worked fine, but obviously it's a cool scene that people like, so but who am I to judge that?
It's rumoured that there was going to be a 4th main character in The Force Awakens. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Ah, yes, the rumoured 4th character. Okay. I think I can talk about this. I think originally it was kept under wraps, but I think I'm alright to talk about it. So you had your original cast of Finn, of Poe, and BB-8. There we go, BB-8. Sorry. And as well as that, joining them on the adventures was originally going to be Luke Skywalker, which is big. It's a big sort of behind the scenes thing. I think there was a couple of set photos at the time, and that was just Mark Hamill, because obviously he loves the role, and he's really into it. Bless him, and he loves it. And I don't think anyone invited him. I think he just caught word. A lot of filming was going on in secret, but he's got connections everywhere. And so he showed up on the set one day, and an altercation occurred. We had to, in later movies, work in Adam Driver's scar into the movies, which it worked in our favour, I think. And so it was originally going to be these three characters, and then Luke Skywalker following them on this journey. Mark had some of his own ideas. He originally envisioned Luke as being this sort of slightly older, wary, maybe a little bit senile character who didn't really know what he was doing. And it was a little bit in poor taste because I think the way Mark wanted to reintroduce him was as a comic relief. You know, like he's holding his lightsaber upside down and he doesn't know where anything is. And it was actually quite sad when watching it back and watching some of most of the footage, to be fair, because again, he was in pretty much every scene. And so we had to go back and added a little bit onto the editing time to go back and actually digitally remove Mark Hamill from the movie. It's a lot of work in the end. But all in all, I think it pays off. I think, here you go, 1 week before the film was supposed to appear in cinemas, 1 week, we noticed there was a scene where it was Luke Skywalker doing this monologue about he doesn't understand all these new ways and, you know, force this, force that. He doesn't get it. Again, it was actually a little bit sad. And we got all the reaction shots for this. We'd gone through and we'd removed Luke Skywalker from all the scenes, but we hadn't removed the scene itself. And so we didn't actually have the scene. 1 week before the film went to theatres, we had a scene of all the characters just sort of looking and then getting a little bit concerned and then sort of glancing at each other and being worried for this old man's health. I think it went on probably about 15 minutes, and it was, again, I think it was in one of the screen tests. It didn't do the worst in the screen test. I think the scene people hated the most was I can't remember off the top of my head. It was probably the changes they made to the catching the laser bolt scene, but you know, in the end, there was someone who swooped in and said, "We've got to get rid of that," which is why it isn't in the final cut of the film. Yeah, well, I've been Harry Wright. Thank you all for watching this YouTube video. If you want to go ahead and click subscribe, just down here, and leave us a thumbs up. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. 9.5 hasn't been announced.